Hi, welcome to this week's VBS craft project. We are going to be making little mini banners. So if you remember, it's been a while since we've been in the sanctuary, I know, but if you remember, there's different kinds of banners and weavings that we see around the church, and a lot of times they have different colors throughout the year. So like blue, we see right before Christmas because blue is the color of Advent. Different times of the year, like Easter, we see white. A lot of the year we see green. I've got some green yarn here. And so the one we're going to do for the demo is going to be green because that's the time we're in right now. So what you need to make this, we're going to do a straw weaving. And so we need some straws. I have 7 here, which we'll use for this weaving. And this is going to make about a 3 by 5 banner here. And so we need an 1/8 straw then to use as our little holder. So we need straws without the little bendy part. So if you have straws with the bendy part in them, just snip it off and then you're good to go. So I have a set of straws here already ready to go. And so the first things we need to do is we need to tape them together. So I've got some tape here. And when you space these out, you don't want to have the straws exactly next to one another. You want just a little gap because you're going to need that little gap for the yarn to go in between. And yes, tape is sticky, so sometimes it is a little bit of an annoyance to try to get it down. But you want to try to get the straws all about the same height when you start. Just makes things easier. And then you just kind of wrap the tape around. And you'll end up with this, and that'll hold the straws in place. Now for the yarn, you can use pretty much any color yarn you want, from whatever color banner you want to make. This one happens to be green, and it's just a standard worsted weight number 4 type yarn, so nothing in particularly special about this yarn. And for making the cords that you can see here at the bottom, they're going to go through the straws. You need to cut a piece that's about 24 inches long. I just like using a ruler, and I just wrap it around the ruler and snip it off. Don't need to be exactly 24, but just as long as it's 24 or a little longer, it'll make your life easier. I've already gone ahead and pre-cut these, so you need a total of 7 of these. And then the next part, you need either like a bamboo skewer, or if you have some wire and you can make a little hook, or maybe you have like a little crochet needle. You're gonna slide it through the straws one at a time. And you're gonna grab the looped end or push the loop end and just bring it through the straw. So you'll get your loop out here. And as you put it through, you wanna kinda keep these even when you go to loop them. And so now you're just gonna do this for all 7 of the little tubes. And it's nice to have a kind of a big loop at the end right for the moment because we're going to feed that extra straw through that's going to hold our banner up. So this just takes a moment. So what are some of the different colors we use through the church here? In case you have different colors of yarn. We have red at Pentecost, on Reformation Sunday. A couple times we see red. We have white. We have purple at Lent. Of course, blue at Advent. And like I said, green. Green gets used for what's called ordinary time. It's not a very fancy name, but it's a lot of that time after Pentecost and before the new church year gets going. We have a lot of Sundays that have the color green. We got our last one here. Get that pulled through. So now we have them all pulled through, and so we're going to take our other straw and we are going to just put our loops over the straw. Okay, and once you get it all looped up here, then you can go ahead and kind of pull these really tight for the moment, just like that. And then you just want to take a little bit more tape, and this will just help provide a little security while you're actually doing the weaving. You can kind of wrap this around and tape the loops right now onto the straw. Now, it kind of would get annoying trying to, oh, I didn't do a very good job cutting. Kind of get annoying to try to work with all of this. So what you can do is just very carefully pull this out so that these ends are kind of on the shorter side. You want to make sure you don't pull them all the way into the tube, but just a little bit shorter will make it easier to work with as we weave. Okay, so at this point, you are ready to start weaving. Now, we're gonna leave kind of a big tail because we're actually gonna use the tail from our starting point to make the little loop that we're gonna hang off of. So I would recommend at least a foot tail for this. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna start on one side. I always like to start on the left side. And you're just gonna tie a knot, like I said, with a big tail. And I'm really bad at judging, so I'm gonna make sure this is over a foot. Okay, good. Over a foot. I'm just gonna tie it just very loosely here. Okay, and then kind of snug it down. Okay, so this is gonna be our starting point. Now this could get a little annoying, so once again, tape. You find, see, I like tape a lot. Just wrap it around your finger, wrap the tail up, and then you can just kind of tape it just to hold it all together so it won't be too much of a pain then while you're actually doing the weaving. So once you got that all good, we're ready to start. So you're just going to do an over-under pattern. And so you can actually, don't have to have this all the way down at the bottom to start. About midway is a good place. And you just go over, under, over, under, over, under, over, and you just loop around. And then you just kind of gently push it down towards that middle point where you're starting. And then you just keep going back and forth. Like I said, those tails kind of can be a little annoying, so you can make them a little shorter if you want. And then just use your fingers, like I said, just to gently start to push the rows together. And then you just keep going back and forth like this. And you want to go until you have about 5 inches. So we're going to make this about 3 by 5. So these happen to be 6, so it's going to fit on this all okay for me. If you get a little short, it's okay. You can actually push the weaving off onto the threads, and I'll show you that as we get to the end part. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and keep weaving, and you don't need to watch me weave all the way. So I'll see you in a couple minutes, and I will finish up with the end and show you how we finish it and we get our finished banner. Okay, so hopefully now you have about 5 inches on here. I know it's been a lot of weaving, but hopefully you've had some fun doing this. You weave back across one last time, push it down, and then you're gonna get a little bit of a tail and go ahead and cut. It's okay if you cut long because once we weave it in, we will cut it off. So then loop around and you're gonna make another knot on this end to hold everything in place. Okay, so now I want to work, get this out of here, just I'm getting all tangled up. Okay, so we're going to work on pulling these back tight again. You can go ahead and take the tape off. To do it, just be careful as you're pulling here. I know tape ends up being sticky. Okay, once you get that all off, go ahead and pull all of these ends tight. And now we want to slide these off the straws. So you're just going to very carefully start to pull the straws out one at a time. There we go. Put this yarn out of the way. And so now we have our weaving, but we need to tie knots on the bottom to make sure they're not going to go anywhere. So with these 2 outer ones, we're going to tie them as a joint one. So you're going to take the outer 2 and the one next to it, and you're just going to knot it up. There we go. Okay, now you're going to take one from this second row and knot it to the one that's next to it in the 3rd row. And you're going to work this way across. So the one from the 3rd row, now with the one from the 4th row. And don't worry if these little tails aren't quite the same length yet, because we're going to trim them up when all is said and done. That's why we had used some extra yarn here. Now we're back to the other outer row, so we're going to do these 2 together. There we go. So now you can see we've got the bottom knotted. Now we've got these 2 little end pieces to take care of here. So this one, we're now going to, if you have a needle, it'll work best. You might need to snip the end off to get a nice clean end. Thread the needle, and then we're just going to weave this back in to the row. Now I like doing the 2nd row over, and I just try to push the needle in and down as far as I can get it. We're just going to pull the thread. You don't want to pull too hard, because you can see how it's kind of puckering up there. We'll straighten that out in just a moment. pull all the loose thread through. It's okay if it's a little puckered right now, because what we're going to do is now we're going to snip the end off. And then we want to pull this back down. And as you can see then that loose thread, as we pull it back down, gets pulled into this row. So now it's all nice and hidden. Okay, so we've got that one taken care of, and now we got the one at the top to do. So we're gonna go ahead, take the tape off it, and unwind it here. Okay, now this is gonna be used for making the little loop to hang with. So once again, we want our needle. Okay. Gonna get this pulled through. Okay. So now we tied our knot at the beginning. So now we can kind of just loop around this one back through the first one here, and we can just kind of do just another little loop. Now kind of make a double loop there. Now we're going to bring it around to this side, and we want to come through. Okay, now this one you don't want to pull all the way tight, because we need to make sure that we have something to hang it with. And then we want to pull it back through again. And once again, don't pull it all the way tight. And now we want to bring it back down a row. Now this one, you can just go ahead and do the outer one if you want. And same idea, you're going to try to push this needle down as far as you can. And then you can just bring it out. And remember, we don't want to pull too much. You just need to get enough out and then figure out which side is the tail side. And then you can kind of start to pull it back a little bit. And see, now we've got our loop. And we can straighten it up on the straw here in a moment. Okay, now we've got our tail, so we can take the needle off, and we're going to do the same thing again. Just clip it as close as you can. And now you can just kind of straighten it out, and you'll see that that goes back inside. And now we've got the base of our hanging here. So now we've got all these little loose ends down here now that we can take care of. So we just need to take our scissors and kind of decide how long we want them to be. And we're just gonna give them a little haircut. Just try to leave them on the table if you can. There you go. Now we've got all the fringe there. Nice and more even. Now, of course, what would a banner be without something on it? So in this case, I used some felt to make a cross. You could use felt, you could use paper, but what we're going to do then is just put our cross then on our banner, and we are going to use a little glue to hold this down. Now I know my glue bottle is being a bit not wanting to squirt out, so I'm just going to open the lid up here and get some out with a toothpick because it's not cooperating with the nozzle. So I'm just going to spread some glue on here real fast. And then I'm going to just try to center it as best I can and put my cross on it. Now, of course, this will take a few minutes to dry. but there you go. We now have a nice little green ordinary time banner that we can hang in our rooms. So I hope you've enjoyed doing this craft, and I hope you're enjoying VBS. Take care.